Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day two of Get Your House in Order conference. Had a great day, great sessions yesterday. Many good presentations that we'll be able to utilize going forward. Great points, great strategies. And also, it just uh, follow up to today. We believe also that we got some great presentations for the day that will also encourage your journey along the way. Uh, Pay attention, take some notes, and also we'll be looking for some type of survey response from the conference at a later date as we go forward. So we expect 3, 4 o'clock this afternoon to be completed with this day's session. Tomorrow's session will also start around noontime. So we'll try to remind you of that throughout this session today. But tomorrow will be the wrap-up session. We expect about 2 hours tomorrow on Saturday, 12 to 2, 12 to 1:30, that type of thing. So just keep that in mind. Uh, we will not be sending another link out. The link that you have today will be applicable to tomorrow's session. So just make sure that today, a link that you have those available. You can use those for the 12 o'clock session for tomorrow. Thanks, guys. Look forward to a great experience today.
Greetings, everyone. I'm Stanley Green, and I am really excited to be part of this workshop. I'm going to give a special thank you to Christian Men Inc. For their efforts in putting all of this together. So I thank you very much as we move through to the next slide. Again, my name is Stanley Green. I'm the president of a company called Power Thinking Corp. Was started about 9 years ago, and in the past I've done many other things. I led financial success, an effort to help people through media, a radio show that I did at WDAS, 60-second financial tips. I wrote a column for the Philadelphia Tribune. But over the years, what I found is not just about the financial information, but it is about our thinking, our mindset. If we're getting into business, are we prepared? Do we have the proper mindset? And that's what led me to, as we move to the next slide, the company that I created called Power Thinking. And this company actually acquired the evidence-based programs that came out of the University of Pennsylvania's Positive Psychology Center. And the material that I present, and just give you an abbreviated version of it today, was created by the University of Pennsylvania's Positive Psychology Center, led by Dr. Marty Seligman. You can look him up. And well over 50 years ago, he conducted experiments about a theory he had that called learned helplessness, such that as people, have setbacks, and we all have setbacks in our lives. We're going through a global setback in terms of the pandemic and its economic impacts as we speak, as I present this. But the reality is, he also studied that people can learn to be more optimistic. They can learn to bounce back from any adversity. And so when we're talking about one aspect of money, and I'll focus on the whole entrepreneurship and commission sales element of building wealth, one's ability to bounce back from any setback becomes absolutely paramount. And there's a series of evidence-based skills and inner strengths that are necessary to do just that. So I'm excited to have this short time with you today. So moving to this particular slide, this is really interesting because we all have setbacks in our lives, but the person who engages in entrepreneurship experiences a compressed and concentrated level of adversity in that almost on a daily basis, there are things that have to be attended to, setbacks. And if one is in sales, in commission sales, you have a home-based business, you're in network marketing, and you're with Amway or ACN or Herbalife or many of those companies as you look to diversify income and supplement your income from a company, a W-2, to experiment with building your own business, you are going to have adversity throughout the course of your entrepreneurial activities. It is just the way it is. And the best thing to do is to get used to it and pick up the skills that we, for the most part, are not taught in school, not taught in our homes. It's usually about getting up and going out to go to college to get a job. But in entrepreneurship, you have to tap into a different set of skills and strengths. So in the day of an entrepreneur, you may start off and saying, okay, I'm going to make my calls today. I'm super excited. I'm going to build this business. And then you have your prospects, the people you're going to call on. Usually it's a warm list. And any company you deal with, they tell you, get a warm list, people you know. What's going to happen is you're going to call those folks, and most of them will probably say not now or no. And you're going to go, whoa, wait a minute, this is harder than I thought. I thought I was just going to have this financial freedom. I was going to have freedom of schedule where I can go anywhere I want, whenever I want. But the building of this is going to be really difficult. And then maybe you get someone says that, hey, maybe I am interested. And you look at that line, that chart, where you say, oh, it's working. And maybe you call someone else and they hang up on you and you go, oh my gosh, I just messed up. So these emotions, these feelings are the things that we deal with and we help people with, because it's not, the fast talking, really slick salesperson that gets it. It's the person that perseveres through these ups and downs of entrepreneurship. So I've had a career in all kinds of businesses and helping from a telephone company to cable TV and running cable systems, so vice president of Verizon, and when it was Bell Atlantic when I was 37, to having my own company, to running a synthetic turf company, being chairman of the board of a synthetic turf, the entire industry for the Synthetic Turf Council. So I've had experiences with adversity, and we've been able to focus on the mindset of people in any of those enterprises and help them to move forward. So as we move to the next slide, I think this quote is very, very appropriate. On the next slide is a quote from Maya Angelou, and she said it best. If you don't like something, just change it. But if you can't change it, change your attitude. And the reason why most people don't get into one of the most powerful elements of building your financial future, building wealth, and that is being your own business owner, is because it's hard. It's hard to build that business, and most people are not cut out for it. And so what they'd like to do is be able to just wish that the money would come and the business would come. And but it doesn't work like that. So most people don't like the aspect of sales and prospecting and cold calling. And yet, that's the one common thread with every successful endeavor, that they had to start by building something. And so that's something you can't change. You cannot change the aspect of just building and prospecting or cold calling and getting hung up on and getting thrown out of somebody's office. That's what you can't change. But what we can change is our attitude. We can change our mindset so that we can be stronger when we do face that objection. And so you move from being down to what we show on the next slide, which is having a smile on your face, regardless of the setbacks. The programs that I've developed with Power Thinking through the acquisition of another company actually helps people to bounce back almost in real time. You're not feeling good because you were rejected or someone hung up on you. You can keep smiling, have it roll off you, and keep moving forward. So in the next slide, what you see is that I've done this all over the world in China here. You see me in Chongqing, China, addressing a group. On the next slide, you'll see the number of folks. These are parents of a middle school where 200 parents showed up on a Friday from 2 to 5 p.m. to listen to the training that I'm giving you the short version of, and that I do on a regular basis every Wednesday for 30 minutes in the morning and 30 minutes in the evening. This is Chongqing, China, where this is one of the biggest cities people never heard of. 30 million people in Chongqing. And the turnout to hear someone speak on the part of their parents was just absolutely amazing. Moving to the next slide. Now that's the group on a Saturday. You know, we had children as young as 7 years old to grandparents from 9 to 5 p.m. on a Saturday to hear the material that we share with you in its abbreviated form. And moving to the next slide, you'll see that we've done this in Tokyo, Japan, where I'm the co-founder of the Resiliency School for the Japan Positive Psychology Association. So as we continue to move through, on the next slide, let's just center on what I really do. There are really two major elements of changing the mindset, where we have to retrain our brain from being a kind of a person that looks to get employed by other people to have, you know, just a paycheck that comes in automatically where there's relatively no growth and all kinds of restrictions, to being an entrepreneur. Those two elements are our thoughts and our beliefs that drive those thoughts. And you know, the National Science Foundation, this is an amazing study that was done, which was funded by the National Science Foundation, and they found that people, actually, our brains, each one of you out there, process 50,000 thoughts a day. Each day, our brains are processing 50,000 thoughts. As I'm speaking to you, you have all kinds of thoughts, from, you know, what I'm going to say next to what are you going to have, you know, for dinner for that day. But there are thoughts always entering into your mind. And it is how we harness those thoughts and how we help us move into the proper direction. And so those thoughts are driven by the other major factor, and that's our beliefs about ourselves, our beliefs about the world around us. So as we move to the next slide, as I mentioned a little earlier, all of this work that I'm doing was founded in studies that were done over 50 years ago by Dr. Marty Seligman, where he tested his theory of learned helplessness. And learned helplessness has its applications in our personal lives, with relationships. It has its applications in our professional lives, but certainly when it comes to being able to start a business. And what it says is that through repeated setbacks, when we experience setbacks, now in the case of business, as we are trying to build a business, we're going to have people say, no, I don't want to be a part of it, or no, I don't want to be your client if you're selling insurance or vitamin supplements. And then you can get into a mode where you're helpless, where you feel that you can't make it. Maybe you can't do this. Maybe you should quit. And the worst thing in the world, as you're looking to build a business, is to quit too soon before you can really see the fruits of your labor. So learned helplessness is one of the leading causes of depression, and it's one of the root causes of people just giving up too soon. So as we move to the next slide, what I teach is this resilience, all science-based, research-based, 7 inner strengths and 7 skills. So if you are strong in these areas, you will be able to bounce back from rejection, from disputes with loved ones or colleagues. And these areas are, number 1, emotion regulation, the ability to stay calm under pressure. 2, impulse control, the ability not to say or do the first thing that comes to mind. And usually in business, it's the impulse to quit is what you want to avoid. There's empathy, which is self-explanatory. There's self-efficacy, the belief, the deep-rooted belief that you can succeed and you can accomplish anything. And related to that is number 5, optimism, the view that all things will have a successful outcome. There's causal analysis. When things go wrong, are we drilling down and getting to the root cause? And then finally, reaching out. That's a very, very key inner strength. And then there are 7 skills, like avoiding thinking traps, like jumping to conclusions or mind reading or making a mountain out of a molehill. Another skill is calming ourselves down when we're under pressure. And there are other skills that we teach. There's 7 in total. So as we move to the next slide, so those are the elements of resilience that we teach. And what you can do, you can actually join us every Wednesday, 7:30 to 8 a.m. and then 9:30 to 10 p.m., just 30 minutes. It's absolutely no cost to you. We reinforce these skills. You can go to my website. We go to the next slide. Is www.powerthinkingcorp.com. If you scroll down, you'll see the text that was on that previous slide where it says, join our Wednesday calls. You can click the link there. There'll be a form and you can put in your name and your phone number, your cell number, and we'll send automatic text messages to you. Or if you get out a pencil and paper, you can take this number down, 215-219-8409. That's 215-219-8409. Leave me your first and last name. I'll put you in the system manually so that you receive the text reminders about these Wednesday calls that actually help you to build these skills. We'll identify the skills, we'll send out a video, and we'll talk about it. Again, no cost to you, and we really appreciate you being with us. So in this brief time, I thought I'd give you a sense for what's going to make a difference in your life, both personally and from a business standpoint, as you continue to find ways to advance. Thank you very much, and I look forward to speaking with you soon.
Dan Green, we appreciate that presentation. I've been knowing Stan for over 30 years, when those early years when we started our career in the financial service industry. We actually was in the same building, 10 Penn Center at 18th and Market in Philadelphia. Stan, I want to thank you for that power thinking message, and as individuals as well as entrepreneurs. What?
Hello, everyone. My name is Kamar Yellis. I'm the founder of Philadelphia Tax Team. Today, I am here during this digital conference to help you all understand the basics of tax planning. Just wanted to give a quick shout out to Christian Men Incorporated for inviting me and holding this conference. But like I said, today, we're going to be going over tax planning. Now, I want to talk to you about why I'm qualified to talk about tax planning. Next slide. So I've been in the personal finance arena for over 20 years. I was really fortunate because my father was a small business owner, an accountant. He made me come there every day after school, or almost every day after school. And when I would go there, I would wreak havoc. I was a young kid, 9, 10, 11. And when I would go there, I would play, shoot rubber bands, and just distract his employees. And so he said, "You're going to learn how to do taxes." So he sat me down and made me read some IRS publications, and then he got me to start doing taxes around the age of 12. Now, I'm not going to tell you how old I am because that's really going to give everything away. But, I couldn't appreciate it at the time, but it's really helped me from a business perspective, from a planning perspective, and also with helping out a lot of our members of the community. So I'm forever thankful to my dad. And then after working with my father for many, many years and actually running his business, I actually became a financial advisor and then went on to become what they might call an institutional Wall Street money manager. Basically, I was the guy who brought the stocks and bonds. But ultimately, it all kind of came back full circle, and I wound up starting my own tax business. And so today, I'm just going to walk you through some of the very, very basics of tax planning when you work a 9-to-5 job. Next slide. So I tell everybody, taxes are the enemy of wealth. To me, everybody should be concerned about generating wealth, creating wealth, and leaving wealth to the next generation. You know, and the Bible says a good man or woman leaves an inheritance for his children's children. And so a lot of times when I talk, I'm talking about wealth as a means to leave an inheritance to your children and to your children's children. So it's not just all about this first generation. It's not just about you or me. It's also about the generations that come after that. Next slide. And so one of the things you have to realize is that when I say taxes are the enemy of wealth, I want you to really understand and like really get this, is that no matter how hard you work, the government is coming for your money. And on the slide here, you'll see who gets your tax dollars, all right? So your federal tax rates range anywhere from 10% to 37%. And what that means is for every dollar you make, you got to pay the government a minimum of 10 cents or a maximum of 37 cents per dollar you make. But let's take that number up a little bit. So let's say for every $100 you make, you have to give the federal government $10, and you have to give the federal government $37, all right? And then you start to think about all the other taxes you have to pay, whether it's state tax. I know a lot of us here in Philly tax and other taxes, right? So when you look at state tax, that's roughly 3%, and then Philly tax is almost 3.5%. When you add that all up, we're looking on the low end, we're looking at 16%. But on average, it's more about 30%, because your average American is at about the 25% federal tax rate, and then you add your state and you add your city on. And like I said, then we have all the other taxes that we have to pay that many times we don't even see. And so oftentimes it won't be weird to find yourself paying more than 50% in taxes. Now, for me, that's a shame, because roughly all your work is going towards the government. Everything that you're bleeding for, you're sweating for, you're working hard for, it should be for your family, not for the federal government. But however, we do have to abide by the laws here, and the laws do say we got to pay taxes on our income. However, the law also makes room for you to lower the amount of taxes that you pay, as long as you follow the guidelines and as long as you know the rules. So we're going to talk about some of the rules here today. Next slide. So first things first, you're working, you got to go to work every day. You got to make an income. But like I said, the government's coming after your money. So the first thing we want to do is we want to stop the bleeding. We want to figure out within the law how we can reduce the amount of money that we pay to Uncle Sam every day or every paycheck. I don't care if you get paid once a week, bi-weekly, or bi-month, or once a month. They're going to take taxes out of your check. I know a lot of children, in that teenage range, that 15, 16, 17-year-old range, they go to work to get their first check, and they are shocked and appalled that the majority of their check, or a large part of their check rather, went to taxes. So again, first rule, first plan of attack is stop the bleeding. Next slide. And so the way you begin to stop the bleeding is by understanding that how much taxes you're going to pay. Now, we talked a little bit about tax brackets and what you got to pay, but I want you to understand how the U.S. tax system works here, at least at the federal level. Next slide. So we have tax brackets. So in the United States, we have what's called a progressive tax system. I call it a laddered tax system. So when you look here at this slide or at this image here, it's basically the rates of all the tax brackets. So when you make between $0 and $9,700, you are in the 10% tax bracket. All right. The U.S. tax bracket also takes into account what they call your filing status, or what you are, like if you're married, if you're single, or if you're head of household. Now, I get a lot of people that say, I'm head of my household, I pay my rent, I pay my utilities, I buy my own food, I take care of myself. So I'm the head of the household. That's not what they're talking about, though. Head of household is when you take care of yourself and also a dependent. Oftentimes, those dependents are children. Sometimes they're your parents. And so when you're like me, I'm the only child, okay? And I have younger children. And I have my parents as well. So I could potentially write off my parents if I take care of them. And I get to write off my children. So, those are things that you got to think about when you are deciding on what your filing status is. So now remember, again, 10% is the lowest tax rate. If you make $0 to $9,700, if you're married, you'll stay in that 10% tax range. All right. If you're married and you make $0 to $19,400, you get a little bit more wiggle room. Now, if you're the head of the household, again, remember that you have to have a dependent to claim. And listen, we don't buy dependents. That's not what we're talking about. Just children that you take care of, that you're the biological parent of, or that you might have adopted. So that ranges from $0 to $13,850. These are very important. Other thing about the tax code I really want you to understand as I get deeper into this, the tax code incentivizes people to spend money and invest money in the ways that is very helpful to the United States economy. They want you to buy houses. They want you to spend money because it all helps the United States economy. And so oftentimes I tell people that the tax code is the cheat code. So if you can figure out what's going on in the tax code, you can be on your way to, like I said, defeating the enemy of wealth, or at least pushing back the enemy of wealth, and save more money for yourself, for your children and your loved ones to do what you want to do. All right. Now, as you go down this list, we see 10%, 12%, 22%, 24%. Those are all the different levels. And as you see, as you make more money, you pay more in taxes. It's not a whole lot of way around it. I'm going to be honest with you all. The best tax breaks come when you are either a business owner or an investor, especially a real estate investor. But I know that's being covered in another topic by another presenter, but I just want to put that seed in your mind to think about as you go along and you participate in this conference. But again, remember, the more money you make, typically the more you pay in taxes. So it's in your best interest to try to keep your taxes as low as possible. All right. Next slide. So one of the biggest things I see a lot of people miss out on is contributing or not contributing to their 401k. So you work a 9-to-5 job, your employer tends to put or sets a plan for you to put money away in. I've seen a lot of backlash about these plans lately. However, this is one of the best ways to defeat Uncle Sam, or at least keep more money in your pocket. So this is what happens when you put money into a 401k. A 401k is an account that is designated for you to be used when you retire. The government knows everybody can't survive off Social Security. So they want you to, oh, and by the way, they know you can't survive off Social Security, and they've done away with pension plans. I'm not sure of how old you gentlemen are, but for the most part, back in the day, our parents would work 50 years, retire, get a gold watch, and then get a paycheck for the rest of their lives. That's no longer here. That's been done away with for the most part. Employers are saying the responsibility for you to take care of yourself is in retirement. Now, why am I talking about retirement as it relates to taxes? The government gives you an incentive to save for retirement. And one of the biggest incentives is through a 401k plan. 401k plan, again, is a program that's set up by your employer They encourage you to put money away for retirement. They want you to keep the money in there until you're 59 and a half at least. And I know you're saying, whoa, 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 wait a minute. That's a long time. It is a long time. But when you get older, like me and some of the other brothers that are in your program, you recognize that that long time or that old age goes by really quickly. So the sooner you start to save for retirement, the better you'll be off. And also, you get a great tax benefit. Every dollar you put into your 401k plan is not taxed, right? So you get to put the money away tax-free. The money then grows tax-free. Now, when you get to a certain age, usually around 65 or 66, whenever you start to retire, you start thinking about retiring, you have to then pay tax on the money when you pull it out. There are strategies to get away from that, but I don't want to go too deep into that today. However, again, you get to do all those things. Again, you get to put the money away. You don't get taxed on it. So it's 2020 this year. Every dollar that you put into a 401k this year is not taxed. You don't pay tax on that money. So if you make $50,000 and let's say you put $5,000 away, right? 10% of your income. You're not taxed on the $50,000. You are going to be taxed on $45,000. That is a big time savings. Big time savings. All right. So every dollar that you put in, again, is not taxed. And this year, the limit is $19,500, I want to say. So you can put up to $19,500 into your 401k plan. I know a lot of people might not necessarily have $19,500, but here's the other benefit. Most employers will also match what you put in. Not all, but most. They will match the money that you put into your 401k plan. And so you're getting your money and you're getting free money from your employer to add to your 401k. So the money that you put in is not taxed. And the money your employer is giving you, again, is not taxed. It's not taxed until you pull the money out. And so to me, this is one of the greatest tools to build wealth for you, yourself, your family, and your community, just by starting to give to your 401k plan. Oh, and guess what? Inside of your 401k plan, you can invest in the stock market. You can buy stock in, or you can buy different funds that might invest in a Tesla or an Apple or a Microsoft or a Nike. And so the stock market has been crazy this year. It dipped really bad earlier and then it bounced back. And so a lot of technology companies are up almost 20% for the year. So if you had $100 and invested in the stock market, your money would now be worth $120. So you got to think about that. That's not money you had to go to work for. But inside of your 401k plan, it grew tax-free as well. So you're getting like a 2-for-1 deal right there. You're getting tax-free growth and you're getting to get investments in there as well. So you're getting to save your money for retirement for the long term, and you're getting to let it grow for the long term, and it's going to be tax-free. I don't see any way you can get around that. Now, the other thing I'd like to tell people as well is that if you're working somewhere, read your employee manual, read your employee benefits handbook. A lot of times there are a lot of other benefits, tax-free benefits. For example, some employers may even help you buy a house. So with buying a house, you now are able to write off your mortgage interest, your real estate tax, in various instances. So again, those are great benefits that you can take advantage of by just reading the handbooklet for your benefits program. A lot of people miss out on their 401k. A lot of people miss out on the various opportunities they have in their benefits program just because they didn't read about it, they didn't inquire about it. So I don't want that to be you. If you're working at a place, you're dedicating your hard-earned time, your hard-earned work, I want you to maximize whatever you can from them. Because at the end of the day, every dollar that you can get in your pocket is a dollar earned. And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to work 9 to 5 for it. But you might just get something extra just for being an employee. So I want you to take advantage of all of that. Now, again, 401k plans, very, very important. One of the best ways to defer taxes, one of the best ways to save money for retirement, and one of the best ways to invest money for retirement. Next slide. So I know I went over a lot of stuff. If you or anyone in the program has any questions for me, feel free to send me a text. I'm really good at texting, not so much at the phone, but you can text me 484-278-1357. And I congratulate you all for taking the time out to attend this conference and to learn from it. So for all your presenters, right, make sure you ask them questions. Make sure you get a deep dive and an understanding of it, and do more research on these topics. So go out, Google 401k plan. Go out, Google taxes, and be your own educator as well. Do your own research. But like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a text and I'll get right back to you. Have a great day. Thank you to the Christian Men Inc. And I hope to talk to you all again soon. Thanks so much.
Go.
Hello, everybody. Christian businessmen. Just want to thank you for allowing me to come and do this presentation for you. We're going to talk about tax planning and how this can help your business. I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a accountant, bookkeeper, and tax preparation. I've been in business for the last 35 years. Currently studying for my enrolled agents exam. And I want to share several things with you that hopefully will be able to make you successful business people and be in compliance with everything that the law has for you to be required. So that's what I want to do. Now, this is not what I recommend for tax planning strategy. You see these two gentlemen getting paid under the table. So that's the thing, you don't want to hide income because that can get you in a lot of trouble. That can get you in tax fraud. That can get you not only in fraud, tax problems with the Internal Revenue Service, but they can get you in tax problems with the federal and state and local governments. So what I want to talk about is some tax strategies that will be beneficial to your business, which is time, income, and expenses, depreciation, qualified business income deduction, fund for your retirement, and offer your employees benefits, and many more tax strategies that will be beneficial to your business and will make you prosperous as far as your business is concerned. The first strategy that I want to talk about is time, income, and expenses. This is very important to the small business and the mid-sized business person because time is important, because it's where you strategize your time. Then this is what's going to make a difference whether you pay a lot of taxes or you avoid paying taxes, which is avoiding to pay taxes is legal. as opposed to evading paying taxes. So the first thing we're going to talk about is time. There's two types of strategies in time, which is the accrual base for doing your handling your books, or the cash base for handling your books. And each one of them will help you as far as being able to give you tax advantages on your tax return. The accrual base of tax planning is that income and expenses are incurred when they occur. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to get paid at the time, but when you incur them, when the expenses incurred or income is incurred, such as accounts receivable, that's a form of income, even though you haven't received the revenue as of yet, you still are able to account it as income. So this type of accrual, it looks good when you go into the bank for your business plans, and and for other when you paying your employees. The other is the cash basis for accounting, which is whenever you receive income or whenever you get expenses, then these are counted right there, and it's not counted in the next accounting period, which is usually a 12 months period. So it's also for expenses as well. Depreciation is another aspect that's going to save you money. Depreciation is nothing more than the wear and tear on your building and equipment, as it opposed to the way you make money as income for in your business. So the wear and tear on your business, the government is saying, the IRS is saying that you're able to apportion a part of the wear and tear of your business to attribute that to go against your expenses, thereby reducing your expenses to a point where your plant and equipment are able to offset some of your income. Okay, and this is another one, qualified business income deduction. It's normally known as 199 tax deduction. This came out in 2017, and it allows businesses, both if you have inventory or retail inventory or services, to deduct up to 20% of your income based on if you qualify for this deduction. So I would ask you to get your accountant, whoever's doing your taxes, to look into it to see if you qualify as a qualified business for the section 199A deduction. That's called the section 199A deduction for both retail and service businesses. Okay, fund retirement. Fund retirement is a great tax strategy because it allows you as a individual to put away 6% of your income each year for retirement, and this is it's a expense in your business for you to deduct your income, so you're able to pay less taxes. And another one is to offer employee benefits. One of the benefits that that I'd like to talk about is the fact that you can deduct, you can have the work opportunity credit, which allows you as an employer to hire individuals from certain targeted groups, such as a person who's perhaps been incarcerated and has a record, or some other type of situation that they're involved in. Or it could be a person who's disabled, that you can hire them in your business to get a substantial a tax credit for it. So that would also lower your income taxes at the federal, state, and local levels. Thank you for giving me a chance to share some of the information with you as far as your taxes and your business. The other thing is that for all business people, they should have a good attorney, a good lawyer that they can retain on a retainer, and also a good accountant, CPA, or and a good people. To this way, you can stay in compliance with all the things that the government has for you to do. And then at the same time, if you hire these people, the lawyer and the accountant, to take care and advise you on your business, you can focus more on your business and feel sleep good at night, knowing that your business is being taken care of by these two type of people. So I just want to thank you for all that you allowed me to do.
I want to thank Kamari for talking about tax planning for individuals, and Mike Tillman and Kamari Ellis for talking about tax planning. And Michael spoke on tax planning for businesses. I want to introduce Tom Webster, who's a seasoned professional with expertise, especially with Black and Brown businesses, helping them get access to money and expertise and resources. Without any further ado, I want to introduce Tom Webster.
Okay, good. Hey, everybody, how you doing? And welcome to Get Your House in Order. I want to thank Christian Men Inc. for the opportunity to share with you information about business. And if you want to go into business, some of the things that you want to know and understand. My name is Tom Webster, and I'm glad to be here to be able to share with you what I've learned from my experiences of being in business for over 35 plus years. And there's some things that I think we all want to take in consideration. If you can take away one just nugget from what I'm saying and sharing with you this morning, then you're moving in a step in the right direction. Next slide, please. Again, Tom Webster, been in business 35 plus years, done a number of things. Had the opportunity to start some businesses as well as exit some business successfully. And that's something that we often don't consider about going into business. What's our plan, not to only start a business, but to exit it successfully. Next slide, please. So one of the things you want to take in consideration and going to any business, and one thing I'm going to focus on today, is the foundation required to be successful in business. One of the things that I want to be able to talk about, or several of the things I want to be able to share with you, is things I've learned along my journey that I find that have been helpful to me as I counsel and coach others, in business startup and business expansion. What we're going to look at it from the perspective of why you're in business, what is really required to be successful in business, and when do you exit. Next slide, please. So one of the things you don't often think about business is that business, like life, is a cycle. And let me talk about what I mean by that. We all know that life is cyclical. We go through stages of life. We go through stages of life from the time we're born to the time we go home. But today, you look at those cycles from the perspective of business, whether it's infancy, whether it's youth, whether it's adult, whether it's maturity, business is the same way. You have startup, you have growth, you have sustainability, and you have exit. And those are the things that you have to look at and think about as you define the why when you go into business. So in the business that you're in today, you have to really ask yourself why. I know oftentimes we go into business because people want to think about, I got a great idea, but I'm tired of working for somebody else, or I know someone else who did it. And, if they can do it, I can do it too. But we don't think about the commitment that's required, the consistency that's necessary, and oftentimes the challenges that we're going to be faced when we go into business. One of the things you have to look at in defining why you go into business is what's driving your passion. Because if you're not passionate about being in the business, you're never going to be successful. When you're going to hit those barriers, when you're going to hit those potholes in the road, whether it's yourself, whether it's figuring out how to get that first customer, whether it's understanding about, hey, look, I have some revenue coming in, I need to hire somebody, hiring the right person. We're going to all make mistakes. We all have, and we all will. And in making those mistakes, one of the things you got to consider is that they're not become setbacks, but they actually become setups for you to make a comeback. And making that comeback is all about you being reflective enough to understand what went wrong, why it went wrong, and what you need to do differently. So when you go into business, the first thing I want to be able to say is that you got to be passionate. You got to be able to be committed to what it is you want to do. It has to be something that you're going to enjoy doing, so that when you are able to see the rewards and look back over that journey, it doesn't seem like it was exhausting, but it may have been a struggle, but it has been rewarding. Next slide, please. So let's get into some of the things that are really required when you're going into business. What you need to be able to do is clearly understand the expectations of what it is that you chose to go into. If you're going into professional services, what does that mean? How do I obtain customers and support them? What it is the responsibilities of effective customer engagement? How do I maintain services to these clients in a very positive way, so not only that I'm able to retain them, but they also refer me? The other piece you want to consider is that if it's not services, I'm going into manufacturing. What's the cost of goods? What's the cost of sales? How I'm able to build a product and then deliver the product. Then also too, we don't often think about manage the impact of when we have returns, because you're going to have errors. You're going to have problems. You're going to have returns when you're producing actually a physical product. In other areas that we want to look at, and we not professional services, is that, and then whether it's the type of customers we're looking at. Are we going to a B2C model where we're going directly to consumer? Or are we talking about a B2B model where we're talking about going directly to other businesses? Each of them have their own unique requirements. Some of the requirements on a B2C model is that consumer buying habits are changing rapidly every day. And one of the things we know about consumer buying habits is that people's time and availability varies. So you're looking at longer days and longer hours just in terms of a B2C versus a B2B. But in a B2B, you may have customer demands, not just that are just restricted by geography. They can be all over the place. You will have a customer that may have one location where your business is located, and another location that is 100 miles away. And how do you effectively support that when they want you to service both? So those are all the different nuances that you got to begin to think about when you look at it from what it is required for you to be successful in business. The other piece to this in building a successful business really gets into your foundation. So in looking at your foundation, you got to begin to understand the type of business you are. What is the best corporate structure for the type of business that you're in? Is that business structure needs to be a limited liability partnership? Does it need to be a LLC? Does it need to be an S or C? You know, depending upon how your structure is going to dictate how you classify your revenues. So when speaking about classifying your revenues, how do you make accountability, you know, for laying out your financial structure? Very important. And laying out your financial structure, you got to begin to understand and to take in consideration is that as my business begin to grow, how do I make better choices and better decisions that don't negatively impact my financial models? Your financial model, especially as the leader of your organization, is going to help you begin to set the strategy or how you continue to grow and scale. The other side of it, emphasize, you know, how you manage customers, how you manage your financial. What type of professional support do you need? Do you need accounting support? Do you need legal support? And how does that need to work? You know, in today's age, we can't talk about going into business without talking about a web presence. We all have to have a web presence today. And in having that web presence, what does that mean? You necessarily may not have the skill set, so that becomes another level of professional expertise. And then with that professional expertise, is it more than just a website? Or how do you use that technology to incorporate your go-to-market strategy? How are you using social media? How are you using web optimization? Those are all the factors then now we have to begin to understand, even think about much more strategically as we really look at what is required for us to be successful. One of the things that I suggest very early on, this how I've done it in the past, is in approaching those things, and is two suggestions. One, when it comes to legal consultation and financial consultation, you need to be able to go out and engage the highest quality people you can afford. We have a tendency sometimes to go low cost or even cheap because we don't want to spend a lot of money. But you don't look at it as a cost for financial consultation and legal consultation. You have to look at that as an investment in your business. And there are ways of approaching that. When you need to look at identifying those type of services, there are a lot of resources around, whether it's through your local industry council, whether it's through your local chambers, whether it's through your local small business development organizations. These are organizations that you need to become active in and are a necessary part of your business success. Next slide, please. Now you've been in business. Now you become successful. You need to begin to think about, what is my exit plan? Your exit plan doesn't end with growth. Your exit plan doesn't end when you become an adult and you have a job and you're working all those years. Then next thing you know it, you hit retirement age and you haven't planned for retirement. So your exit strategy is like planning for retirement. What do you do? What do you do in business when you reach a certain point where it's time for you to be able to move or become really a advocate or a champion for others in small business? To be able to do that successfully, we have to be able to come up with an exit strategy that either allows us to be able to sell our businesses, to allow us to be able to cash out of our businesses, or to be able to allow us, you know, to go into strategic relationship with businesses where we transition with major value back to us for all the commitment and work we've made in our businesses. There are a number of ways to do it, and part of it becomes a strategy for what's commonly known as succession planning in business. When you're succession planning in businesses, the first thing you want to be able to do is, again, get a professional to work with you that helps you identify what are your particular goals for your exit and what it is you want to achieve. A lot of times we want to be able to establish a legacy to pass on to our children. The big question you have to answer yourself is, do my children want to be in the business I created? We often hear the stories about how second generation and people that we know fail. The high rate of failure in businesses in second generation is almost as high as the startup rate in businesses themselves. It's in the 80+% range. And that's because there is not an understanding for successful transition strategy for us passing on this legacy to our children and our heirs. And it first comes with a real conversation. Is this what they want to do? Most of the time, what the real answer is, if you've built something of value, they want the value. They don't want the work. So what happens is that in that situation, you have to come up with a strategy. The perfect example I have to explain that is a client that I once worked who was a very successful restaurateur. She had a number of locations in the Mid-Atlantic region, and her kids watched her work for 25 years, day and night, 7 days a week. And she's built a very successful business that had value. When it came time for succession planning, her kids were very honest with her. They wanted the money, they didn't want the work. And so what she ended up doing was working out a plan for her 3 top managers who had been with her the longest to buy out her restaurants from her over a 5-year period, which then allowed them to grow into the role of business owner, that allowed them to get a financial plan together to be able to acquire the business, and then over time to be able to structure a deal that required them to be able to provide her an initial cash out injection and then a payment off of revenues over a certain period of times. There are a lot of ways to be able to come up with an exit strategy. You're only limited by your creativity as well as the advisors you surround yourself with. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell for things you need to consider for getting your house in order. Just a couple of reminders. When you be able to go into business, the first thing you got to do is be passionate about it. You got to be committed to it. You got to be critical in your thinking and be reflective. You're going to face challenges, but if you do and you surround yourself with good advisors and you offer value to the marketplace, you would be able to have something of value that you can exit successfully and leave something for your heirs, your children, your grandchildren, and the next generation that follows. So thank you very much. Next slide, please. So I want to thank you again for allowing me the opportunity to share with you some of the things over the last 35 years that I've been involved with. And I've had the opportunity to be involved in some really dynamic stuff that I never thought I would be able to do. But as it says here on the slide, I've been involved with the University Science Center, Backstage Capital, one of the most successful minority VCs in the country based out of LA, Black and Brown Founders, which we just launched a partnership to invest in minority tech companies with Microsoft and things of that nature. If I can do it, you can do it. Thank you, everybody. Have a blessed day. Tom Webster. Appreciate the time.
Thank you, Tom, for that presentation on Get Your House in Order from the enterprise side of the house. Now I want to introduce Mr. Turman. He's going to talk to us about legacy planning, an area we should be thinking about regardless of our age, especially though as we increase over the years. Mr. Turman, legacy planning.
And I am a development professional. I currently work at AIM as a director for institutional advancement, but previously I've held positions such as director of development, vice president for institutional advancement, and development associate, you name it. I've been in this field for well over 15 years. I have tons of fundraising experience, having primarily worked at universities, historically black colleges and universities, predominantly white institutions for higher learning, you name it. So I've been in this field for quite some time, and I'm really excited today to talk to you all about philanthropic strategies and solutions. Now, we can go in many different directions when it comes to philanthropy and solutions, but today I'll talk specifically about philanthropic services with regards to investments, the older generation, and round off our discussion today with a brief synopsis of gifts and planned giving, which is very important, but people don't necessarily talk about it a lot. Now, before our discussion about successfully attracting philanthropic investments, both current gifts and estate gifts, let's begin by defining three terms. Philanthropy. Philanthropy and charity are not synonymous. Charity is reactive. An individual sees an immediate need and responds almost without thinking. Now, philanthropy, on the other hand, is intentional and usually extends over a period of time. Effective philanthropy requires planning and attention, advancing by steps and usually surviving missteps. Investments. Investments are more than donations. Donations are often made by giving cash or writing a check without much consideration, consultation, or research. Philanthropic investments, on the other hand, are planned actions that help worthwhile nonprofits and or organizations or businesses in general raise the level of activity to achieve results or generate long-term sources of revenue to provide stability. Donations are usually given for current operations or programs. Philanthropic investments, however, are often longer term and may be given with payments stretched out over 2 or more years. Though in this field, I love the investment piece, and a lot of philanthropy comes down to the beauty of relationships, right? So I tell a lot of donors, I'm not looking for transactional gifts. I'm looking for transformational gifts, and we'll get into that. So when it comes to donations, they may be established to take effect sometime in the future, perhaps at the death of the donor, which brings me to planned giving. Planned giving is future focused and designed to help the donor and the organization. And hopefully I can shed a little more light on that. So I want to talk briefly about the average total giving of high net worth households, and then it'll make sense as to why I'm going in this particular direction. Because again, when we're talking about philanthropy, we can go in so many different directions that I think I'll start with this one. So the average total giving of high net worth households. So if you're between the ages of 51 and 60, your average total giving is $102,000+. If you're of the age of 61 or between the ages of 61 and 70, your average total giving is $155,000+. If you're between the ages of 71 and 80, your average total giving is $142,100. If you're 81 and older, your average gift is around $125,000. So as you can see, based off the numbers, you're at the prime age around 61 and 70 in terms of high net worth households and in terms of your propensity to give. While the majority of American families are not wealthy, those headed by individuals who are 55 years of age and older have more assets than their younger counterparts. Now, per the U.S. Census report, family net worth, mean and median, reported the following. Age of household, head of household, the average is 55 to 64 who have a median net worth of $127,000. Between ages 65 and 74, they have a median net worth of $146,000. Between the ages of 75, or let's say 75 and older, the median net worth is $125,000. And then all other families fall around that $71,600 range. In other words, families in which the head of the household is 65 to 74 years old have more than twice the median net worth of all American families combined, including these older age brackets. Median net worth means that one half the families in the age bracket have higher net worth and one half have lower net worth. Studies show that older Americans have the bulk of the money and they make the bulk of philanthropic investments. When I first started doing this work, I was told not to focus on the younger folk. Obviously, I was around 24, 25 at the time. So I thought, well, hey, I'm making good money. I'm a missed opportunity if you don't ask me for money. That may or may not be the case, and that fluctuates in this field. But it wasn't until I began doing the research that I really understood why people told me that. Organizations must focus their fundraising efforts on the elder constituents. Now, it's all about perspective. So I like to focus on the and not necessarily the or. So sure, focus on them young, folks that are in lots of debt, but also focus on the constituents that are a bit older. So let's define elders. By elders, I mean those aged 60 or nearly so and older, some much older. For purposes of our discussion today, I will divide the large group of prospective donors into three groups. The GI generation, those born before 1930 who remember the Great Depression, were teenagers and young adults during the Second World War and are now nearly 80 or more years old. The silent generation, those born between approximately 1930 and 1945 who grew up or were small children during World War II. They were young adults during the Korean and Vietnam War and are now in their mid 60s and or 70s. The early baby boomers, those born between 1946 and 1964, who served in and protested against the Vietnam War and are now approaching or more than 60 years of age. As you may know, sociologists divide baby boomers as a group into like two subcategories. So the early boomers and the late boomers. So the early boomers were around 1946 and 1954, and the late boomers were around 1955 and 1964. So, ways to get money, right? There's so many ways to get money, but I've just kind of given you a perspective of the generation in a population that has the most money. So it really just depends in this conversation whether or not you are looking to get federal dollars or private dollars. There's so many layers to both. Federal dollars are grants that you can get from the federal government. Private dollars typically come from private and family foundations. We can go so many directions in that, but let's stay the course, right? When talking about planned giving is future focused and designed to help the donor and the organization. Planned giving can seem confusing, but it's not really complicated if you have a plan. Planned gifts are typically larger gifts and gifts given often due to the incredible tax benefits. And trust me, there are quite a bit. Examples include real estate, life insurance, stock, annuities, and trust. Bequests are the most common, and simply put, bequests are it's when you leave money in your will. The natural question now should be, okay, given all the information that I've just given you, how do I get the money? I'll end this by stating the name of one of my favorite books in this field, The 7 Faces of Philanthropy. One of the fundamental ways of growing in both giving, being the giver of money, and getting money, being a person like myself who has to go out on the front line each day and ask people to thoughtfully consider giving a quite the substantial gift or a gift most meaningful to them, is understanding your face and the faces of others as it relates to philanthropy. I repeat that again. Understanding your face as a potential donor and understanding the faces of others as it relates to philanthropy. So you have 7. The communitarian, the person who's doing good who feels like doing good makes sense. This is 26.3%, right? Communitarians are typically business owners who find service on boards and committees of local nonprofits. Can be good for business because relationships that often develop in such settings. The devout, doing good is God's will. That's 20.9% of people. The devout are motivated to support say they believe it is God's will for them to help others. The investor, doing good is good business. That's 15.3%. Investors are affluent individual nonprofit because calls and one eye on personal tax and estate consequences. That's the investor. Then there's the socialite. Doing good is fun. That's 10.8%. Socialites find social functions benefiting nonprofits and especially appealing way to help make a better way and better world and have a good time doing it. That's your socialite. The repayer, doing good in return, 10.2%. Repayers tend to have been constituents first and donors second. Often they donate to medical charities and educational institutions. In my field, I call these people uh, grateful patients, grateful gift patients. These are people that had to get treated at a cancer center, and because they survived, they're ever so grateful. So those make for the greatest donors. That's the repayer. The altruist. Doing good feels right, 9.0%. Altruism, is great. It embodies the popular perception of the selfless donor, the donor who gives out of generosity and empathy to urgent causes and often wishes to remain anonymous. Last and certainly not least, the dynast. Doing good is a family tradition. It's 8.3%. Dynasts typically inherit their wealth, and giving is something their family has always done. What you'll find in this field is that the dynast, one of the lowest percentage of people, the number decreases each year because you'll find in this field, some of these individuals, although they have years and years of philanthropy, the younger generations are less philanthropic. So we spent some time today just having a conversation about philanthropic services. I hope that this is a start of a much larger conversation when it comes to philanthropic strategies and or solutions. Again, my name is Kavan Turman. I've been in this field for quite some time. I've raised money for small private schools. I've raised money for large research institutions. Some of my background is I've been vice president for institutional advancement at Lincoln University. I've worked in the Office of Development at University of Delaware. The two differences is I've raised $10 million for a campaign at a small liberal arts college, historically black college and university, and I raised $550 million for a large research institution such as the University of Delaware. I've also spent some time at Wiley College, home of the great debaters down in down south in Louisiana, and I've also spent some time at Grambling State University as their director of development. Currently, I am the director of institutional advancement at AIM Institute and AIM Institute for Learning and Research, where we do research to practice. It's a school for children who learn differently, and they are children with dyslexia, dysgraphia, and dyscalculia. So in many ways, when I reference this whole notion of grateful giving, these are families who their kids can't read. So at the end of the day, they're extremely grateful for a school such as AIM, which I obviously capitalize on as a fundraiser. So this has been a great conversation, but it's only the beginning and it's only the start because there's lots to discuss when it comes to philanthropic strategies and or solutions. I also happen to be the executive director of my own nonprofit, which is called The Brothers Brunch. The Brothers Brunch provides services and resources to men of all walks of life, all age groups, so that they can show up as better husbands, fathers, and friends. I've had a great time having this conversation with you all. And if you have any questions, I'd love to be able to lean in differently. Take care.
Kevon, thank you for that presentation on legacy planning. I'll be reaching out to you to help get my house in order regarding legacy planning for my family. Um, I can see the benefits of doing so, and you can look forward to a call from me. Right now, I want to shift. We're going to do a live interview. I've been pleased to corner a gentleman, founder of Switchboard Live. He's the CEO of Switchboard Live. I've known him for over, I guess, about 44 years now, and he got his first computer when he was at age 10, and I guess the rest is history, as they say. He's been a strategic partner with Christian Men Inc. over the years, even during the time when his first company was named Joycaster. I'm pleased to introduce Rudiger J. Ellis. Yes, Rudiger. Glad you were able to. I can call you Rudy? Okay. Hey, you can call me Rudy also. How about that? Okay, I got a couple questions for you. Are you ready? Pull no punches now. Now, the first question I have is describe your transition from employee, because you've been in the industry for a minute, to entrepreneur. Share with us what that was like. Could you do me a favor and make sure your mic is up loud enough? I can hear you pretty good, but I want to make sure that those on Facebook are able to hear you. Okay. technical difficulty here. I'm not sure if you can hear me now. Can you hear me? Yeah, now I can. Okay. Well, it wasn't just me. They couldn't hear you on Facebook. Yeah. Uh, yeah. You was talking about the transition and that it was challenging. Yeah.
How about now? I think that should do it. Yeah, I see it. It should be good now. It should be good now. It should be good now. We'll start it over. We'll
Okay.
start it over.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. I see it now. I see why it wasn't working. Just don't touch anything. Let's just go.
All right. Yeah, I love it.
All right. So sorry about that. I realize I see what was happening. I see bars now. So we're good. We're good to go.
Good.
All right. Um, cool. So I guess let's start over because I don't think the first part was actually heard.
Okay. All right. Well, my first question to you was describe your transition from employee to entrepreneur.
Got
What
it.
was that like?
Got it. All right. So hopefully, people can hear the short version because the long-winded version is what you couldn't hear. I would say for me, basically, the challenge was really not knowing what I don't know, right? So most people, obviously, you know what you know, and you know what you don't know, and so that was probably the biggest thing for me was not knowing, some of the aspects and elements with regards to, starting a business, and not realizing that on the side, I actually did have a business, right? Meaning being what most people would call like a side hustle, and so being able to go from working 9 to 5 and then actually, going all in, if you would, fully focus on a day-to-day basis on actually this idea or this concept, that was daunting. That was, there was a lot of anxiety there, but for me, it was, what I realize now, what I didn't know at that time was that I was basically preparing myself, right, by doing
Okay.
stuff on the side, by learning, and having the opportunity at work and understanding, right. So having those meetings, and then the other stuff, as a startup CEO, you are going to learn about trial by fire, right,
Right.
and I think the biggest thing for me was, I just started trusting my gut a ton, right, like letting my gut,
Okay.
kind of validate some of these ideas and thought processes that were coming up as well.
Good. Good. Well, tell us about Switchboard Live. Tell us, a little bit about what you do and what's your special sauce in this space of business.
Sure. So Switchboard Live is a company that we built that has a product called Switchboard that allows content publishers, big or small, to be able to take, one single live video stream and publish that to all their social destinations. So whether that's going to Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Periscope, your website, really making it easy for you as a content publisher, a brand, anyone that's creating live video, to get your video out to all of your social destinations, right? And
Okay.
so part of that idea came, really from a need from one of our old customers years ago, where they had two sites. They wanted to go to their Facebook, or I'm sorry, their corporate website as well as a conference website, and didn't have two cameras or two encoders or multiple bandwidth or more than one person. So they were like, well, how can I go to more than one destination at the same time? And that was really the kind of like the impetus or the catalyst for taking this idea and then kind of expanding upon that. So our goal now is we want you to be able to go live in 3 easy steps to all your social destinations. And a benefit of doing that is audience, right? You want to be able to tap into other niche audiences, third-party, platforms or third-party audiences that you otherwise wouldn't have access to. You can do that through a switchboard.
Okay. Who would you say is a mentor in business? And it could be somebody living or dead. Someone that was in the tech space or just business space in general.
That's a good question. I'd say I don't know if there's one person, specific, over the course of just, my career. I think,
Okay.
looking at, tidbits from different people, right? So, like I think, there's stuff that I read from just like, believe it or not, like Steve Jobs, right? Where I kind of pulled in from, even like the book from, Jeff Bezos and, Amazon, or, why should white guys have all the fun? Or, Reginald Lewis, right? So like these are things over the course of the years that there's been like little pieces of information that I think I've pulled in to kind of help me just from a business standpoint. And I mean, those 3 examples are just like the top, right? You're talking $1 billion, kind of,
Sure.
businessmen, but it's
Sure.
at the end of the day, it relates to everybody, right? So, and I think, just for me personally, how I, learned just by being in business is I love I love to listen to other folks, right? And their origin story, their journey to see, because most people think it's an overnight success, and
Mhm.
for the people that know it, that's not the case, right? It's a 12-year, 10-year overnight success, and learning from them the roads, the trials, the tribulations that allow them to get to the point where most people see in the public. That and I like to learn from that, right? Those mistakes, right? As a kid, you talk to your parents tell you, hey, learn from me, right? But don't want to do it. You want to be hard headed. But in the world of business, time and money is definitely key. And so if there's ways to get pieces of information or nuggets of information that could be applicable to my business, hey, I'm all for it.
Good. Now, one of the things we as a consultant offer businesses is something that we call the SCOT analysis. Now, most people are aware of the SWOT analysis.
Hmm.
I just kind of rephrase it and use the SCOT analysis, which really stands for strengths, challenges, opportunities, trends, and threats. How would you evaluate Switchboard Live with regard to, let's say, just your strength? What's the strength of Switchboard Live?
Strength. I think what we like to pride ourselves are is probably, I would say, kind of 2 components. One is simplicity, as well as, well, I guess kind of in the same bucket, simplicity and easy to use, right? So we as a product right now, as a company right now, we're super focused on making it easy for you as a streamer, broadcaster to go live, really easy in like 3 easy steps. So, when you look at the competition, you look at the market, there's products, there's companies that are providing, tons of other features. But at the end of the day, when you're Googling to solve a problem or solve a need, you're looking for a specific task, right? And so we want to really go in hard on solving, that problem that people are looking for and making it really easy that you can do that. And then another strength is, I would say, just being able to support those initiatives. So when I talk about onboarding, we want to make it so that if you don't have, any streaming knowledge, right? So there is a path to get you to that point, so that, we've learned the hard way where we have people come and say, hey, I want to stream to Facebook, YouTube, like all these destinations, and they've never done anything. And it's like, well, before you multi-stream, you should single stream, right? Like, go do it once, understand the workflow. So having an onboarding process, having a flow, having a supportive nature, I think is pretty instrumental, and one of our strengths that we're exuding right now.
How about challenges? You've transitioned in business and to implement to get to the point where you're able to provide the support. What do you say is one of your challenges, Switchboard Live?
Probably marketing, to be honest with you, right? So, and I would say it's a challenge that I've learned that's pretty instrumental in building a business, right? So this is one of those kind of hard lessons learned, where once we built product and once we realized people were looking for what we were solving, this idea of, hey, if people are coming and they're signing up on their own without any marketing messaging or marketing dollars spent, that's great. And so I want to double down and make sure that we're converting them, because it's less money that you have to spend. But what I didn't realize, and over this last couple of months, we've been working with an agency, they've been helping, and we've been doing a ton of this back end stuff, is we lost kind of just share of voice in the market, right? So yeah, we were coming up, yeah, people are using us, but being a part of that thought process, being a part of that conversation, it's grown organically, but now I think there should have been a concerted effort in parallel to position ourselves as well as thought leaders or subject matter experts in the space to kind of help just strengthen our organic search. And so we got 2 people starting on Monday.
Okay.
Just
Good.
to really focus in on marketing initiatives. And so I'm super excited. I mean, we're got the ground running and so forth, because just looking at stuff, there's in some ways, the marketing team we're working with, they said, you're leaving money on the table, hands down. Like, we could see it, right? And so, so that's, that would be one of the things that I would definitely say is one of our challenges. And then the second thing is probably goes in hand with the marketing. It's building a community, right? What better way to have your product, and this is just in general, right? Is what better way to have a product is if you have raving fans or a community of people that are talking about your product. And I don't think we did a good job of doing that early on. When we had customers, sure, but we weren't building this fan base or community base that's talking about it, or even promoting our current customers to help build that, right? So these, if you look at it, it's just an underlying issue. It's pretty much the outbound marketing things that we weren't doing, where we're now that those are things we are doing.
So that sounds like in this climate now, with everyone trying to do streaming, that's opportunity just at the helm right now, I guess. Then.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much, I would say, my mindset. We one of the things in business, kind of like to Tom's point he was mentioning earlier, is you have investors or so forth. And I was writing an update, and January 2020 we were on a different trajectory, a different course, 100%. Just really built, essentially stripped the business down to its core and work on a path towards profitability. Now, we are a venture-backed company, meaning we received investment from investors, but that was the plan that we decided to move forward, you know, and then have some optionality to figure out what we're going to do next. But unfortunately, you know, with what's happened in the world with regards to COVID and people having to rely on video, that's for us has been a blessing, right? Essentially, it's allowed us to become, you know, more topic, you know, for folks to figure out live video, and so now if there wasn't a time to really, you know, put the flag down and say, hey, here's Switchboard, here's how you can use us, and here's what you can benefit from us. That's exactly what we're doing, right? And so we changed course, kind of restructured everything. We're essentially swinging for the fences, and we're going to go hard on our market initiatives. We're going to actually spend on certain things. Because in certain like SaaS or startup businesses, they have this term called product market fit, and we're in that mode where people are looking for us. We have the different use cases, and now we need to go and market our product, you know, in a right manner.
Right. Well, so that's strengths, challenges, opportunities, trends.
Well, yeah, I think we got to talk about
Yeah,
that,
we
right?
did.
Trends.
So how about threats now? So everybody trying to get in the business. Matter of fact, I'm gonna throw a camera up and maybe start streaming. Is that a threat? Am I a threat to you?
Well, I mean, I think so. So one of the things that we've also had to educate the market on is where we fit at in the live streaming landscape. So traditionally, you have an encoder, right? That's the thing that sends video to Facebook or YouTube or Twitter or Twitch, whatever, right? People go and watch the video on Twitter or Twitch. So that's an endpoint. We sit right in the middle, right? So we take the video from the encoder and we send it to the destinations. So that's really a new category in the world of live streaming that we've developed. So think of it as a subcategory. There's multiple terms for it: multi-streaming, multi-publish, restreaming. In fact, they're one of our competitors, in the functionality of streaming video to more than one. And there's been a couple new entrants in this space, right? And so for us, it was part education in the beginning, and now that we have competitors that are doing similar like features and building upon that, it's now validating this idea, and being able to see that happen, and being able to see one of our competitors raise like $50 million, right? Is amazing, because now that's a comparable competition and market where, hey, yes, they're doing A, B, C, and D. We're doing, A, B, and C of that, and so that helps to really bolster and position us from a valuation standpoint. So, extremely excited about that, and you're right. It's I think of it more of as a cooperation, if you would, because it's part learning, it's part pushing the movement, and it's a big ocean. This is a global thing. It's not just Philadelphia. It's not just the United States. We have customers in Australia, in Africa, in Europe. So it's a global thing, and it's enough people where everyone can really be a part of this.
Right. Well, I guess my final question is, what's the one bit of advice you would give yourself 20 years from now?
20 years from now?
Right.
Probably continue to believe it or not, trust my gut. Like, I've realized as I look back on just some of the initiatives and things that I've done, it's gotten me that far. So why not to continue to believe in that, right? And so there's been times where I probably deviated and question why, right? But if trusting in my gut, making that decision, and have the conviction and that was the right decision for that, and push forward and go 100% into that. I think that would be my thing. I would go back and say do that more, because as I reflect over the past 5-6 years, there's been a couple incidences where whether it was diplomatic or not, I involved other people's thought process and said, hey, we will go with your idea. and again, maybe I didn't believe in it, but I probably should have trusted my gut and said, hey, this is why I want to go this way, and here's the reason behind it, and made that decision instead of, being diplomatic about it. So that'd probably be the biggest thing, I think, is really, trust my gut, and I wish I would have started sooner, to be honest. I wish I would have started sooner, believing in myself as an entrepreneur, because, I don't ever see myself going to work for someone else, from this point forward. So, yeah, I definitely wish I would have started sooner.
Well, this is the Get Your House in Order conference. And speaking from the entrepreneurial side, we appreciate the insight, definitely the candid insight that you shared. And those budding entrepreneurs, startups, even those that are in business. I mean, you've been in business, and you and I both know it's not a overnight success.
Correct.
We do appreciate that. Is there a question that you may have for me?
Us, I like that. Question that I have for you. Where do you see Christian Men Inc. in 5 years from now?
Glad you asked. Well, one of the focuses we have also repositioned is to focus on membership and really driving membership. And from the membership, we can provide the resources. So over the next year and a half, we anticipate having a membership that is growing on a consistent basis, so that the numbers aren't so much as important as those that are participating and growing and learning how to get their house in order, how to soar to success. So in 5 years, we see a strong community that's happening in various communities, so that it's not just site sensitive. Everyone has to come to Philadelphia. Could have 100 sites throughout the United States and in other parts of the world. So we look forward to more events like this,
Mm-hmm.
and utilizing the services of Switchboard Live to help provide integrated on-demand digital distribution. Is that the correct term?
Multi-streaming,
Streaming.
yeah.
Yeah. For all the content that we have, and we're just scratching at that. So that's how we see really integrating that so that it does have a multiple effect. I appreciate you asking that.
No, I love it. All right. Well, thanks for having me. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. That was Rudy J. Ellis, founder and CEO of Switchboard Live. I want to thank all of the presenters for today, day 2, Get Your House in Order. Each of the presenters in their own respect provided insight that on an individual basis, personal basis, or on a business basis, how we need to get our house in order. Appreciate also the live interview with, yes, my son. I'm truly proud of him in his efforts, his entrepreneurial efforts, and look forward to being supporting of his efforts of Switchboard Live and any other endeavors, especially from an entrepreneurial standpoint. Want to thank everyone that has tuned in and all of the presenters. And we're going to complete this day's presentation with Soaring to Success. This is an interview I did with John Glover, the chairman and CEO of Christian Men, Inc. And Soaring to Success, as I shared in the beginning of the presentation on yesterday, is where we are looking at growing and developing men and boys holistically. So that means not only what we're talking about today, money, finance, entrepreneurship, business, but in other areas where we're talking about your career, where we're talking about your family, where we're talking about your civic responsibilities, where we're talking about your health, where we're talking about personal development, and of course, faith. These are the 7 areas or 7 dimensions that we speak about as part of the overall Soaring to Success curriculum. And if you're interested in receiving a complimentary digital version of the Soaring to Success Personal Business Journal, just text or respond to Facebook and we'll make sure that we send that link to you so you can download it yourself. Again, thanks everyone. And we hope you appreciate Soaring to Success interview with John Glover. John Glover, Chairman and CEO of Christian Men, Inc.
Christian Men, Inc. is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. And we are focusing on 3 areas: poverty alleviation, economic empowerment, and generational wealth. One of the things that helps us coordinate and promote Christian Men, Inc. is a comprehensive approach to addressing each one of those properties, each one of those areas that you just indicated. We recognize that as we work these programs, we got to take and work with the young, and the young have to work with the old, and all of us have to do this together, because all together we can make a difference, and we will make a difference. The Soaring to Success program is, again, our approach for an individual. We're talking about, again, embedding a strategy into the program that develops our 3-generation initiative. That's the youth, the adult, and the senior. And we look at that over a long period of life, from 7 years old to 80 years old. And we believe that there needs to be a balanced approach to life, a balance of life to stabilization for the man, the family, and his community. And there's 7 principles that we really embrace in order to cause this to exist. That's his faith, his family, his finances, his personal development, his health, and his civic responsibility. If an individual works with each one of those entities, each one of those, he will be able to have a balanced approach to life, and he will be able to share with his brothers and his family and the community, and work toward those things that will help him sort of like be responsible individual in each one of those forms. The Community Press Corps is again talking about in the community itself. There are many individuals in the community that are doing some great things. They have some businesses, they have hobbies, they have just a relationship with the community and individuals in the community. They know the community, but they know the residents of the community. And they are doing some positive things because there's so many negative situations that individuals run into in the community and in general. We also need to tell the story of each individual that is responsible for things that the assignments that they are given. When they are successful with those assignments, other people need to know that and the impact that those assignments have, but also best practices. When we have best practices and because someone is already doing some of the things that we're seeking to achieve in the community, we need to highlight those individuals and try to recruit them or bring them into the fold so that they can help support the mission of the program so that we don't have to keep doing it over and over again if someone is already doing it, so that we're not in competition with each other, but we lock in arms and we're in partnership with each other.
I want to thank you for coming on. Continue blessing the power of prosperity in your family.
Thank you, and I thank you for allowing me the opportunity just to share about the program and the workings of CMI, and I look forward to a continued dialogue with today's money.